An entitled Karen made her daughter scream until a manager came to help them. I did not actually interact with this Karen much. I was merely in the area and only briefly spoke to her. But boy did I stick around to see what happened. I'd have to say though that this is a situation where the employees were also partly to blame. I was in Home Depot looking around for some replacement parts for my toilet at home when a lady with a child approached me and asked me if I knew where the pipes were. I apologized and said I don't know, as I'm hardly ever there. Also, a quick note, I don't work at Home Depot, so this question was especially weird. I myself had to ask an employee just to find the toilet parts. She gave me a look that just said, well, what good are you? And just waddled off. I like to browse around the store, so I just kept browsing. That's when I found Karen in the pipe aisle talking to an employee. Said employee didn't know anything about the pipes and said that he would get someone over right away who was more knowledgeable than he was. The Karen replied that she was in a hurry and to not keep her waiting. I figured, whatever, not my problem, and kept walking over to the garden section. I came back a few minutes later and the Karen was still waiting in the pipe aisle with her daughter. It had been at least 10 minutes since I saw her last, and she did not look happy. She was tapping her foot and growling. I decided to hang in the adjacent aisle and could see everything going on in the pipe aisle. Another 5 minutes went by and the Karen lost her temper and shouted out loud, "This is ridiculous." Then she stormed out of the aisle, found another employee and dragged them back to the pipe aisle with her. They were of no help to her either and said they would get the pipe guy to come and help her. She yelled that she already had been waiting for him for about 20 minutes. I spoke up and said I'd walked by the aisle several times and nobody came to help the lady at all, and she had indeed been waiting that long. The Karen got really smug when I said that, and the employee apologized. He got on his walkie-talkie and tried to get the employee they needed over to the aisle. The employee tried to leave, but the Karen refused to let him go until he actually got her help. But he kept trying to say he had things to do and someone should be on their way. The Karen got fed up, and that's when she whispered something to her daughter. The girl smiled ear to ear and began running to each end of the aisle, screaming out that no employee was helping her mom. The Karen told the employee if he wants her daughter to stop, then he better go get the employee who will actually help her right now. The employee jogged off and a moment later came back with a manager who was able to help the Karen get what she needed. The manager looked very angry, but still smiled and apologized to the Karen for the inconvenience. I half expected the Karen to demand a discount for the wait, but she just got what she needed and went to the checkout. I heard one of the employees mumble curse words under their breath as the Karen left, and the manager told this employee to just calm down. I went to the checkout line and the Karen was leaving by the time I got to the register, and after that I can honestly say I would never want to be the target of a Karen's anger. What an absolute nut job. The fact that this lady literally weaponized her children as some kind of ultimatum to get the manager to help her is insane. I mean, that is not a good parent in my opinion. You don't just have your kids screaming and running up and down the aisle just to cause a scene. Like, that's ridiculous. That's a horrible precedent to set for your child. You are basically telling them, hey, if you don't get your way, just scream and cry. Eventually you'll get it. No, that is not how the world works. I can understand not getting what you want and nobody being willing to help you out and having to wait for stuff, but causing a scene like that to me is just not the answer. And personally, I would never handle a situation like that. A customer won't take no for an answer after I've told them multiple times that we're out of a specific item that they're looking for. Eventually, I had to get my manager involved. I work at a family-style sit-down with a bar. It's the end of the night, which means I'm ready to annihilate any customer who even gives me the slightest bit of grief. A group of 3 came in to order food and drinks at our bar. The customer sat down and said that they would like a gin and tonic as well as some of our wings. I told them sure, but we're sold out of the regular breaded wings, but we can get them the non-breaded ones no problem. Now, after I said this, I'm internally begging this lady to please just be okay with it, which is the normal thing to do, but she proceeded to surpass every expectation I had on her. She said, "You're sold out? Geez, how busy have you guys been tonight? That isn't fair for your paying customers." After she said that, I was resisting the urge to explain to her that every customer is a paying customer. I try to smooth things over, so I say, "Yeah, it's been a super busy night, but we still have the classic ones available. Can I get some of those started for you?" She then says, "I'm actually wondering if you could do something for me. Because you're sold out of the breaded ones, can I have the classic ones in all flats and half off? I think that's only fair seeing as you're sold out." My jaw dropped internally. I said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry. I don't think I can do that for you with the flats. I'm happy to get the wings started and I can't take any money off, unfortunately. We're just sold out of the other ones, but I'm more than happy to give you the replacement." She says, No, I don't think you understand what I'm asking for. I'm just offering to do a little compromise because I can't get what I want." I look at her and I say the exact same thing. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, I can't do this for you." The customer gives a huge sigh of frustration and says, "Well, if you can't do this for me, could you get me someone who can?" At this point, I was just completely stunned. I walked over to my manager, who burst out laughing once I told her what the predicament was. She goes over to the customer and basically repeats what I told her. As I watch, the customer starts getting visibly upset. She goes on to say, "Well, I'm going to be taking my business elsewhere if this is the case." As the lady's walking out, my manager says with a huge smile on her face, "Well, go ahead. I hope you have a great night." Customers like this make me so infuriated, and I'm so glad to hear that this manager had your back. It's one thing to deal with a crazy, entitled Karen of a customer, but it's another thing to deal with someone who is absolutely just ignorant and doesn't understand what's going on. It's like their brain is absolutely full of sawdust. Like you explained to them several times, "Hey, the kind of wings you want, we are currently out of." You know, because it's the end of the night. Imagine working all day and getting through all this product, only to have this one customer come in and ask for the one thing that you don't have. And instead of listening and going for an alternative, they just continue to repeat it over and over again. I'm pretty sure I would go nuts too. Thankfully, the manager stepped in and repeated everything that you just said. Sometimes that's just what it takes for these people. They just need to hear somebody else say it just so they can be like, "Well, fine, whatever." Overall though, this is a super relatable story personally, and I love to see it when managers step up and help out their coworkers. But leave a comment down below. What's the craziest thing a customer's ever said to you? An entitled kid thinks she can get away with barking at my dogs. So I have been dealing with my neighbors since they first moved in less than a year ago. Well, after we experienced a hurricane, they have been complaining about my dogs being aggressive towards them. I have two dogs that are pit bull and Labrador mixed. My dogs haven't shown aggression towards anybody. That is, until their daughter started barking at them. I have told the parents about what their daughter is doing and what the outcome could be. Well, they ignored my warning and proceeded to tell me that I shouldn't have raised them to be aggressive. I never did raise them to be like that. It's just an instinct that they have as dogs. Also, if they feel threatened or feel like someone else is trying to threaten their family, they will act aggressively. They're good dogs in that way. Well, recently, their daughter, maybe 9 or 10 years old, decided that she was going to bark at them. And again, it's a good thing there's a fence put up. Well, after this, I decided that I had had just about enough of their BS, and I snapped at them and basically said, "If my dog attacks because your stupid daughter keeps barking at this dog, even after we've warned you multiple times to tell her to stop, I don't want to see the medical bills." At this point, my dad came out to see what the yelling was, and if he didn't step in, I would have kept going. My dad was absolutely furious at the neighbors for letting their daughter bark at my dogs just to antagonize him. I'm a big fan of the phrase, "If you play stupid games, you're going to win stupid prizes." And what's going to be the stupid prize? One day those dogs are going to hop that fence and bite that little girl. I don't think they're aggressive dogs in the slightest, but if you get in any dog's face and start barking at them and act threatening, they're going to bark back and they're going to freak out. And not only that, they'll become accustomed to that behavior anytime they see you. It's not smart. Like, why would you provoke an animal like that? It's just not a smart thing to do to any animal that you see. It doesn't matter if they have an owner or not. Those dogs could seriously hurt that little girl. These owners were just doing what they thought was best to tell them, "Hey, your daughter needs to stop doing this to our dog." And no, they did not raise those dogs to be aggressive. They're probably only saying that because the dogs have pit bull mix in them, which, by the way, if you raise dogs right, they won't be aggressive. It's more of the fact that these people feel it's okay for their daughter to step in and act like a complete idiot, and then try to claim, "Oh no, it's the dog's fault for getting upset and barking." But the dog wouldn't be freaking out and getting angry if your daughter wasn't barking in the dog's face. Seems like they're putting one foot before the other without realizing that the other foot is what's tripping them up. Overall though, hopefully these people get this worked out, and hopefully these terrible neighbors come to their senses and realize, hey, our daughter's doing a terrible thing and we need to own up to that, because otherwise someone might get hurt. My best friend's boyfriend feels threatened by my husband, and I'm not sure what to do about it. I've been searching online for advice on this situation just like mine, but I can't find it anywhere, so here goes nothing. My best friend has constantly been bringing up the fact that her boyfriend doesn't like my husband. We have been together for 11 years and married for 4 of those years, and my best friend has been around our entire relationship. At first I was confused because my husband and her have always gotten along fine. Nothing has ever happened between them, and I felt bad for my husband because he has always enjoyed her company, and now he feels weird. She has been consistently bringing it up, and it's gotten under both my husband and I's skin. She has even gone as far as to say that her husband isn't worried about her being around my husband, but is worried about my husband being around her, which I feel like diminishes my relationship. I also feel like she weaponizes my husband and makes situations out of things that aren't real. We recently all went to a funeral together, minus her boyfriend, and she didn't tell her boyfriend my husband was coming. When her boyfriend boyfriend asked who was there, she listed everyone and then my husband last, instead of listing us together like the couple we are. Her boyfriend was super upset that my husband came. It just didn't make any sense. Another time, I had a surprise birthday party for my husband's birthday, and I invited her and her boyfriend, but she didn't bring him, and that was an issue. Same with the concert, she again chose not to bring him, even though I bought a ticket for him. I asked her the last time she brought it up why she is weaponizing my husband and why her boyfriend doesn't come to things he's invited to if he's so concerned. And she said she should be allowed to do things without him. The whole situation feels really immature, and I feel like my 11-year relationship is being disrespected. Am I misreading the situation, or does it seem like she is using my husband just to upset her boyfriend? What should I do? It sounds like the boyfriend of the other relationship is really weird. And also this lady is really weird that's weaponizing her husband. Like, why would you make it seem like her husband's such a bad guy? Reading through this, I realized that they never gave a solid reason as to why she doesn't like him, as well as why her boyfriend doesn't like him. Like, the entire situation is just weird. Is it a case where these people are just super jealous and super not trusting of the other person? I mean, it doesn't seem like there's a situation here that's been explained where the husband is in some way coming on to this other lady, or has in any way been creepy or weird with her. So it seems like this fear is just kind of out of nowhere. It doesn't make complete sense, to be honest. Like, why would you villainize someone if they've never done anything? It sounds like to me that this is just a really bad case of jealousy that could very easily be fixed if these people would just talk, which I don't think they want to do for some reason. I mean, how can you consider yourself a friend if you're not making even an attempt to get to know and be friends with the husband of the person you're friends with? It all just seems very silly and a little immature. And if anything, the original poster's friends are to blame for this one, because from the sounds of it, the original poster and their husband have done nothing wrong, and it seems like the other couple can't find a good reason why they don't like him. My husband made me cry by mocking me and belittling me as I'm trying to find a job, and I feel completely crushed. I'm a 32-year-old female, and I've been teaching for 7 years, and this was my last year teaching. So last Friday was my last day officially. Although I enjoy teaching, the actual profession has burnt me out emotionally and physically. My husband and I agreed that I should quit this profession, or at least take a year off, and for the sake of my wellness, find another job in the meantime. When COVID-19 hit, my husband lost his job. I was understanding and showed support and sympathy since I was also upset about it. We relied on my income as a teacher, as I taught online throughout 2020. However, as the months passed by, I grew resentful when he would play video games and watch movies instead of developing a plan B. I would say to him, I think it would be a good idea to see what jobs could be hiring. I know there's a pandemic, but we should be mindful about future finances. After I said that, he got very mad and said that I was emasculating him. He kept victimizing himself, saying, "We're in a pandemic, my hands are tied," stuff along those lines. My intention was not to hurt him. I just wanted to voice my concern before I would start getting resentful. Fast forward to June of 2022. I have been dedicating a lot of time to applying to jobs since Friday. I'm also pursuing my master's degree virtually. A weird habit I have observed from my husband is whenever he sees me on another website besides my college classes or job search sites, he says I'm wasting my time. Well, today I was online searching for jobs. He asked me, "What are you doing in the computer?" And so I told him what I was doing. He then replies, "I could be really petty right now." Then he said I better hurry up and find a job soon. When he said that, I looked confused. Then he told me to wipe that dumb look off my face and said, "That's how you spoke to me when I was jobless during the pandemic." He said some more hurtful comments and I started to cry. As I was crying, I shut my laptop. He came over to my computer and opened it back up and said, "You're not going to get a job when the computer is closed like that." I had to walk away and get some space. I cried so much and I hate crying. After he said that, I didn't recognize him. It felt like he just wanted to hurt me or to get back at me for telling him to get a job during the pandemic. What hurt me the most is how he spoke to me and how annoyed he was that I was crying. He said to me, "Why are you crying?" Really? I couldn't go cry when you told me that. I just had to suck it up and find a job. Like, where's this hostility coming from? I honestly don't know what to do. I was in a great mood today, I was feeling motivated, and his comments really brought me down. What should I do? It sounds like your husband absolutely was waiting for the right time to try to hurt you. And worst of all, based on what you're describing, it sounds like he really got a lot of fun out of making you feel like garbage. I mean, what a terrible human being. Like, he seriously waited for the right moment just to spit this venom in your face. Like literally just waiting. I'm sure he felt terrible for not having a job during the pandemic, but in no way, shape, or form is it okay to turn around and treat your partner like that. I mean, a little bit of communication would have helped resolve this right away. If he had simply asked, hey, why did you talk to me like that when I didn't have a job? You could then explain your point of view and then both of you could come to some kind of understanding. But instead, genuinely, I think he just wanted to be cruel and really mean to you. He probably wanted you to feel as bad as he felt when he didn't have a job, even though he couldn't express his feelings, which is not your problem, by the way. Really nasty stuff, and I'm so sorry you're going through that. And these two situations are so different. He lost his job while you're trying to look for a job. When he didn't have a job, you were supporting him while he was playing games, as well as looking at movies instead of looking for a job. You are actively looking for a job. You've bettered your future and you're going to get your master's degree. That is light years different, in my opinion, compared to what your husband did. Like your husband flip-flopped. At first, he was supportive of you quitting being a teacher, but then when you try and find other jobs when you have a master's degree, suddenly he just starts throwing around these toxic comments. It's really gross, it's really disgusting, and you absolutely do not deserve that. I'm so sorry he treated you this way, and I'm so sorry that he felt the need to try and get revenge on a situation that is not at all equivalent. And I honestly hope you find some kind of solution between the two of you. I'm a 34-year-old male, and my parents track absolutely everything I do in my life, and I don't know what to do about it. I normally live overseas, and it's amazing. Whenever I come back to my home country, and throughout my entire life, my parents control me so much. Every time I leave my room, they say, "Where are you going?" And if for whatever reason I don't answer the phone because I'm asleep when I'm overseas, I get 57 phone calls. My ex-girlfriends get contacted if I don't answer right away. I get called a failure, I get called a fat slob, I get called a loser. I get told that I have no friends. It is almost constant abuse. Constant. The way they treat me has cost me girlfriends. The first one left me because she believed I would grow up to become just like my parents, even though I would never do that. The second one left because I was constantly being told that I'm terrible, which then turned me into a person that suddenly craves people to tell him that he's not terrible. And yes, I know this is a problem, and it's something that I'm trying to work on. My parents do all kinds of weird things. For example, I was just drinking an energy drink, and it was pulled out of my hands, apparently because I'm a fat slob, and poured down the drain. It is like there's almost constant pressure on me now. And they don't treat my sisters like this. And they are saying that they do not treat me as bad as I'm trying to say. They say that I deserve it and that it's all in my head. And now I'm at a point where I think maybe, yeah, I am a bad person and that this stuff is just being taken out on me. They just said I am disinvited from my sister's wedding just in case I ruin it. As a note, I have never ever caused a scene in public, ever. So I don't know where this is all coming from. They have even tried to pull me into some psychological experiments just so they could be carried out on me. The thing is, none of my friends in the country I live in notice any of these issues. Not one. Not even the people I have lived with. I honestly don't know what to do, and I don't know how to handle this situation. If I was in the original poster's shoes and I was being treated this way, I would have cut off contact with my parents a long time ago. The person in this story is literally 34 years old, and their parents are trying to control every aspect of their life. I would stop going home and limit my contact with them completely. Put them on an information diet and stop telling them stuff. Also, it begs the question, why do you keep going back to them? They treat you like the black sheep of the family. They treat you so poorly. Why go back to that? Everything this person has described is absolutely some form of abuse. I think I caught onto some gaslighting in there, as well as them trying to convince them that, oh yeah, you deserve all this treatment. No one deserves to get treated like this. I don't care how bad of a person they are. Emotional and psychological abuse should not be inflicted on anybody, and most definitely not towards someone who's supposed to be a loved one. You don't treat your family like that. In my opinion, I would cut them out of my life and change my phone number and basically all other aspects of my life. I would block them on my phone as well as social media and just leave them with a note saying, hey, you've abused me for the last time and I'm cutting you out of my life. In my opinion, this is not an unreasonable step to take. I would do this and I would have done it months ago. I'm really sorry you're going through this, and I don't know if you have any kind of financial obligations towards your family, but if you can truly cut ties and run away, I would do that in a heartbeat because you deserve so much better. Today I messed up by making my husband think that I was being unfaithful. So recently I reconnected with a childhood friend through social media. We hadn't seen each other in 20 years, but it was nice to learn we both still had a lot of similar interests. We moved to talking on Discord and having a great time reminiscing some old memories, chatting about games, work, as well as life in general. I had happily told my husband about this, and at first he was a little confused why I had sought out an old male friend all of a sudden, but then after a while he just didn't mind so much. Yesterday I went to take a shower and had left my cell myself signed into Discord. When I came back, the conversation with the above-mentioned friend was opened, and I know I hadn't left it like that. I asked my husband if he had looked through the conversation, and he admitted that yes, he had been self-conscious, but felt bad and apologized. Now, I want to go ahead and say that we both allow each other to look through each other's conversations, but we don't generally feel the need to. After my initial annoyance and confusion wore off, I sat down with him to talk about what was making him so self-conscious. Apparently, I had recently been tabbing out of Discord conversations when he walked into the room. I'm often on my computer doing artwork, so he comes in sometimes and just sits in here with me. Now, I have some minor OCD tendencies, and one of them is that I don't like having one Discord conversation open. I always need to switch back to the Friends tab. There's no reason for this, it's just an organizational thing. But it had looked like I was trying to hide things when he was by coincidence walking in just as I was switching. Next, he would see notifications ping on my taskbar that I was never answering. I had recently joined a Discord server for a gaming group, and every few minutes there's notifications going off letting me know about a boss spawn in a game. It got to the point where I just stopped bothering to check if I don't hear the sound of someone directly messaging me on Discord. But to him, it looked like I was avoiding opening Discord while he was in the room. It's all been sorted out now, and I find the whole situation a bit funny. That is definitely a funny situation to be in. That guy probably thought he was losing his mind. He was looking at all the clues and he's like, oh no, she's not being faithful. But it's really good that this is a happy ending and that this couple was able to figure it out, because I've read enough nightmare stories to know that this could have gone south in a very serious way. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And the next time you live stream, use the Cream of the Crop music. Search Cream of the Stream on Spotify or whatever platform you use for copyright-free music to use for your next stream.